Hello. So I'm the only one here, and it's kind of interesting to be talking to myself when there's nobody here. But that's okay because I have something incredible to share today. And I'm sure that as I share with you on the replay, I want you to feel like you're here with me. So we're going to wait just a little while, probably around 5 more minutes, and then we'll see who joins us. Had a really great day, and I hope everyone here has as well. Lots of exciting things are happening in my life, and the energy that I have for bringing this information to the world has really, really transformed my life, and it can transform yours as well. So like I said, we're going to just check and see who we have here. Last week we had 60 people that oh, there's my pot cakes. My dog is here with me. So she is I can talk to her if nobody shows up. So anyway, last week I had 60 people that watched this IP class. And it's really a blessing for me to be able to share this information with the world. So I'm happy that all the people that are watching with me, and hello, here's someone right here. Hi there. To put my glasses on to see properly. Ravini, hi, it's nice to meet you. I think you just signed on today. Very glad to see you. I'm going to wait just a little bit. Like I was just saying that 60 people watched the webinar and watched the replay last week, and I'm very excited to be sharing this life-changing information. So we're going to get started in just a little bit. Today, the topic is beliefs, infinite possibilities, and you weren't here last week, but the idea is that we create our life with our thoughts, and our beliefs are very important in that equation. So let me know how you're doing today. I'm just going to be watching back and forth the chat and the attendees as people show up. Can you see me okay? You hear me okay? I was on a webinar about 2 hours ago, and suddenly people said they couldn't hear me anymore. Or they couldn't hear me. So hopefully the sound is okay and you can see me all right. Hi, Wendy. It's nice to see you again. And Ravini, where are you from? Let me hold on. I may not have the chat enabled. Hold on. Yeah, looks like I have it enabled. Messages are public. Welcome. I'm gonna wait a few more minutes. So anyway, if you want to let me know how you're doing, Wendy is here from Canada, and if we see Ravini, I think that's, yeah, if you'll tell me where you're from, that would be great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start talking to you just about, like I said, this week is about beliefs. And why beliefs are so important, because as we talked about last week, thoughts become things. And when we put our energy out into the world and into the universe, that we create what our thoughts are. So what if our thoughts about ourselves or about the world are not so great? Well, that's where I found myself when I first started doing Infinite Possibilities. And the beliefs that I had were like this. Work is hard. People are mean. Men cheat. Women cheat. People lie. And I didn't mention yet that I'm a divorce lawyer in this call. So I had a lot of beliefs about love and relationship and about the way things should be from 20 years of conditioning. And that pretty much seeped into every area of my life. So one of the first things that we do when we talk about the beliefs chapter So we really want to know what your beliefs are. And so one of the exercises in the workbook have to do with how your beliefs are shaped. Now, they come from our very early upbringing oftentimes. So I told the story of how my mom, she worries a lot. She's very, very worrisome about everything. So when you tell her something, she immediately thinks that something's going to go wrong. If I tell her that I got a new dog, she says it's too much to handle. If I tell her that it's busy at the office, I'm going to get worn out. If I tell her it's slow at the office, she tells me that I'm going to be broke. No matter what it is, there's this conditioning that something bad's going to happen. And a lot of times if you're brought up that way, then you carry that with you. So one of the most important things you can do is to start challenging your belief system. Now, the different categories of your life, of course, are your health and your relationship and your money, your family, and what do you really believe around all those things. This afternoon, I met with someone who had been in a very controlling and very abusive relationship. And she told me she was crying through most of the conversation. And I asked her, why have you stayed? And she said, because I believe that divorce is wrong. And I asked her if she thought that the way she was being abused was better. And she told me that her parents had always taught her that she should stay married no matter what. Now, obviously, I'm a divorce lawyer, and that's not what I tell people. But what was important to me in this conversation with her was that no matter how badly things were going in her relationship, she held on to this steadfast belief that divorce was bad. The only reason that she came today was because her daughter had said, Mom, you need to get a divorce. That is mean. And she suddenly realized what she was doing to her child, because her child was witnessing all the emotional and the bordering on physical abuse, and her daughter had witnessed it. So a lot of alcohols and drugs involved on the dad's side, but yet Mom's belief system was so strong that she should not get divorced. So what is the belief system that we have, and how does that impact us? So I can tell you all day long about what my belief systems were and what my family's were and how I had to change it. I really want you to examine it yourself. So I'm going to look at the chat. I don't see anything just yet. Ladies, okay, and we have Sarah here. Hi, Sarah. So just tell me, what kind of things do you have beliefs about? So if maybe it's your children, maybe it's that you should live in a big house. Maybe it's that in fact, that's another thing that happened today. The woman told me that I was the second lawyer that she had gone to. And she told me that the first lawyer had said, you can't move out from your home, which is in a very, very prestigious neighborhood, into a small house. He said, you can't do that to your children. So he was fostering his belief system that you have to live in a big house onto this lady. And she said, I was very uncomfortable with that because I want to downsize and I know I can't afford it. And he said, you can't take your children from this massive home that you live in and have them live in an apartment. And I said, well, why not? But that was his belief system. And if we really look at it, every single thing we do is kind of garnered by a belief system. So it's not really that things are bad or good. It's just how we view them. For me, living in a smaller house means I don't have to hire a housekeeper except for one day a week. Or what if you think that spending money on things is wrong? My accountant always used to lecture me, saying I travel too much. His belief system was I shouldn't travel, that I should save my money. And when I challenged him about what he spent his own money on, he had to agree that we didn't spend unequal money. It's just that we have a different value system. So really you can look at almost anything in your life and you can see that your beliefs are affecting it. So I want you guys, I know there's a teensy bit, hello. I know there's a teensy bit of a lag, but if anybody would volunteer to tell me, hi, anybody would volunteer to tell me that, are we sisters? Possibly. What kind of belief system do you have around one of those factors? So we talked about money, we talked about family. I just want to tell you, hold on. Just want to tell you that I discovered today I have some old messages. Right, operating around money and debt. Absolutely. We had a very, thank you, Wendy, for contributing. Anybody else want to talk about what belief systems they have around something? After so many years of being a divorce lawyer, I'm very cynical about the idea of romantic relationships. So finally, after telling myself there could be something more beautiful, then I realized that I still was harboring this belief system. After 20 years of working in the divorce industry, it was really hard to see that relationships could be beautiful. But I learned that they can be. And I had an incredible relationship this past year. Now, didn't last, but what I learned was that you can have love and you can feel good, and it's okay if it doesn't end. So relationships being painful was something that I had kind of ingrained. And so whenever I would begin to feel that in this last relationship, I would reach for that. Why am I feeling this way? And I knew it was because of my belief system. So we can always challenge, is it good or is it bad? And sometimes we see there are blocks in our lives. I had a lady in one of my classes, and about the third week, she started crying. And I said, oh, what's wrong? Because she seemed to really get the information, and she seemed to understand that what we put out into the world, we're going to get back. And she said, I'm just not good enough. And I said, where did that come from? And we started thinking about how she had been treated when she was a little girl, and the things her mother said to her, and how her mom said, you're not as smart as your sister. You're not as pretty as your sister. Now, I'm not sure why anybody would say that to their child, but that's the kind of thing that gets to you, right? And you grow up and you think, I'm not good enough. So sometimes these things are really, really down inside you. Now, I have a new roommate, my friend Brian, and he's amazing. And we talk about belief systems a lot. And I always say, I can believe in you as, you know, I can believe in you with all my whole heart, that you have to believe in yourself. So that's kind of what I started doing. I started believing in myself. So last week, I asked you to create a vision for yourself. And Wendy, I know and love Wendy's vision for herself. And I have a vision for myself that's huge. So is anybody else here willing to share their vision for themselves? I'm going to just watch you guys and see. Hi, Celeste. What is your vision for yourself? The reason why I want to know that is because once we know that, we can say, what are the beliefs that I have around that particular vision or goal? Because you can have something, you can hold something up and you can want it desperately and you can send your energy out into the world and you can know it's going to happen, but your beliefs can prevent it from happening. They go really deep and they have much stronger energetic pull if you don't have a handle on those. You have to really feel it. So when I said last week that thoughts become things, it's like this. You may think to yourself that let's see, I'm trying to think of an example on the fly. You can think to yourself that you have a great relationship and you're happy, but yet somehow you keep fighting with your boyfriend. You fight all the time. And then you realize that you just can't give up this thought that he's gonna cheat on you, or things aren't going to work out. You have this thought that you can't really have love. And that's what wins out. Because that's going to keep coming up until you can let that go. It's like if you have a menu and you choose one thing, but then you change your mind And the waitress is there going, what do you want? That's exactly how our thoughts are and our energy is when we send it out into the world. We have to have clarity about it. And if your emotions and your heart of hearts are saying, I'm not good enough, nothing ever good happens to me, I can't be loved, but yet you say, oh, I'm so loved, there's a contradiction there. So you really have to begin with these beliefs. So I'm going to just keep checking to see if anybody else is willing to share. So far, no, and that's okay. And like I said, I know that there's a lag time. So just challenging our beliefs and looking at the way we look at things is what we have to do to have vision. Now I want to talk to you about some beliefs that I've had before and how they've manifested into reality. But you can't do it unless you have that belief system. So I shared this with some people yesterday, and I know this is going to sound a little crazy, but a few weeks ago, about 5 weeks ago, my friend Brian and I, relationships always end. Yeah. Wendy, thank you so much for talking with me. And I want everybody to share if they want to. So anyway, not enough money to go around. That is certainly one that my parents told me to. And I had to work really hard to conquer my money fears and my money issues because my parents are lower middle class, and they did not encourage me to go to college. And I may have told you they didn't encourage me to go to law school. And every single thing that I've done, they thought was a little crazy. I bought a franchise. I've written a couple books. I've done seminars. I do retreats in Florida. And my mother always wants to know, why are you doing that? No matter what I do, she wants to know why, and she doesn't understand it. And she would have understood if I had been a stay-at-home mom, but not all of the things that I've chosen to do. So learning that I could, in fact, make money. It's funny, my goal one day when I first started was to make $30,000 a year. And I remember telling my boyfriend back at the time that I was going to make $30,000 a year and that I was going to be so excited. And as an attorney, sometimes I've made $30,000 in a week. Not me personally, but my business. So now I see that I have that power of money. I have the ability. Money's just energy. And it's just an energy exchange, and it's a flow. It's just a flow. It's not something that you can't have, Sarah. And so once you grasp that money is just energetic, just like everything else is. Oh, good. I'm glad, Sarah. Because this past week we were at, 5 weeks ago, let me get back to that. 5 weeks ago, Brian and I were sitting in my living room, and I told him that I really wanted to stop practicing law. And he said, well, how much money would you need to stop practicing law? And I said, $15,000 a month from another source of income. And I shook my head like, wow, that's never going to happen. Well, the next week I had an idea, and it was an incredible idea that I was really excited about. And I know Wendy knows about it. It's called Project Positive Change. And within the last month, I've raised $77,000 in investment dollars. Now, it's not my money. It's money to use for the company. But in this past week, I raised $15,000. Now, I know I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that for you to think that I have a lot of money, because it's not, like I said, it's for my business. But what the universe delivered to me was the fact that I can make money from doing something else, and that if I ask for something, I can create it. And that's something that a lot of people, if you just allow yourself to dream, you still have to have the belief. So Brian says, all these amazing things are happening around me, but it's not happening to me. And I said, because you believe that we can do it, but you don't believe that you can do it. Right? So you have to be able to have that belief in yourself. And last week we talked about visualizing, and I don't know how many people did any visualization, but it's really powerful to see yourself stepping into that vibration of whatever you want. Whatever, if it's a relationship that you want, to see yourself having a happy relationship. And Wendy, I want to admit, that's not something that I still feel clear about. I mean, I definitely know how this works, and I do know that I have some blocks with around relationship issues, and it's okay. I know that when the time is right, I can work through that as well. And that's another belief, right? So let me just take a look at some more things about that. So anyway, I don't know how many people were here on this particular webinar that were here last week, but I did want to say that I'm really interested to know if anybody saw a difference once they were aware. If you started looking around and seeing the things that people said, the things that people did, if you noticed that person that always says things are going wrong for me, and they always do, or the person that says everything is amazing, and it always is. Because now that you're aware of that, I think you're definitely going to see more and more of it. And that's what I think is pretty cool. I do want to show you this video. Some of you may have seen it. It's really a cool video. And I want to show you this right now. And I will be right back. It's about a belief system that somebody had that against all odds, he was able to do something. So hold on.
With the knee braces, the back brace, the canes, 297 pounds, and his belly was out to here. And I was thinking, God, how am I going to help that guy? When you get what you want, not what you need. When you feel so tired that you can't sleep. Stuck in reverse. And the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace. When you love someone but it goes to waste. Could it be well? Lights will guide. I've lost so much weight that if I don't hold these up, they'll fall. I'm not going to do that right now. But I'm really pleased with this. And I just want to share this with everyone. Thanks a lot. You're too in love to let it go. But if you never try, you'll never know. Here's where I'm at now. What you want. Just because I can't do it today doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to do it someday. will guide you home. And ignite the ball, and I will try to fix you.
I love that, guys. I know that you do too, because it's so inspiring to see what Arthur went through. And the thing is that no matter what our beliefs are, let's think about him for a minute. When he was barely able to walk, and he chose to believe that he would be able to, and then he took the steps, which we're going to talk about action steps later, into making it happen. We all can do that, whether it's losing 100 pounds or whether it's starting a business, having a relationship, living the life of our dreams. It all starts with a belief. Remember that when I was a young lawyer, I went on a date with a very successful lawyer. He has very big teeth. Anyway, he was very successful, and he was maybe 15 or 20 years older than me, but like I said, I was a young lawyer. And he routinely got big fees on cases, 25 grand. You know, my mom made minimum wage my whole life, and my dad worked at a factory. And so to get a retainer of $25,000, wow, right? It blew my mind. And I remember when I went to dinner with him, I said, "What makes you better than me?" And he said, "Nothing, nothing." And so I went on to have fees that were $25,000 and more than that, but I had to have that belief in myself. And there are certain things that can be our stumbling blocks, but they don't have to be. So we can start changing the way we think about things. So and some of you know, when I first began this path, you know, I had a reputation as a very, very mean lawyer. Somebody said today on an earlier webinar I had, "Well, we want to see you in court." And I'm like, "No, I don't want that, because I have to do my job." So I had to learn how to separate being an angry divorce lawyer from being the person that I want to be and what felt good to me. So what I learned was changing the belief that you have to be angry and hostile and hateful to be a lawyer. Or can you be loving, and can you speak from truth rather than speak from anger? And it was a totally different energy, but it just took me changing how I looked at my profession. Now, I'm not going to say that people don't still call me names as a lawyer, because what I do can make people mad. But what it does is change my energy. Tell you a story. If you guys like my trial stories, I was in trial one day, and and if any of you heard it, I'm sorry, I'm telling it again. So I was having a pretty good time with my client, and we had just gone to lunch, and it was just about money. We were just hanging out, we were laughing, and we started the trial back, and you know, it was right after lunch, and somebody was on the stand, and all of a sudden the lawyer says, "Your Honor, I object." And I said, "What?" I was looking around like, what is she objecting to? And she said, "Miss Daniel is smiling." What kind of objection is that? But I was so shocked. I looked up and I said, I'm sorry, I'm smiling. I didn't mean any disrespect." The judge said, "Get in my chambers." So I went back there, and the judge said, I didn't see Miss Daniel doing anything inappropriate. And the other lawyer said, her being so, what did she say? She said, "She's smiling at the court reporter." And I said, "Well, she's sitting across from me. Of course I'm smiling at her." So this lawyer's belief was that I was trying to undermine her in some way. She told the judge that because of my attitude, the judge wasn't taking her serious. She just had a bad case. It wasn't because I was smiling at the court reporter, but it just goes to show you that whatever you bring into a situation, have you heard that expression? You see what you want to see, and that's what happens. You always see what you want to see. So if you see good in the world, you're going to get that. If you see bad, you're going to get that too. Yeah, and I know I probably talked about Tiffany last week, and I just want to talk about her again. She's my assistant that's been with me for almost 10 years, and she has lupus. And the doctors told her, you're not going to live past 30. And Tiffany is so impressive because she started the new Thoughts Become Outfits. She started this new fashion and law of attraction program because she could have gone on disability and she could have stopped working and she could have fallen prey and possibly she could have died if her belief had been that, yes, she couldn't work. She couldn't function, which is what the doctors tried to tell her. We have control over what happens to us, not the other way around. So we control our reality. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir because I know a lot of the people on here are Infinite Possibilities trainers, and you know how the energy and the thoughts work together to make things happen. Another example I have is of my friend Jake. Some of you may know Jake because I know he's been passing this around, passing my links around on YouTube. When Jake and I met, he wanted to be a professional racer, race driver, race car driver, drifter. And we talked about it, and I told him that he could have it if he wanted. So just 2 years later, I actually got to see him race against the top drifter in the country, and Jake came in third. It was so exciting. It was in Madrid, Spain. And Jake and I talk a lot about what your belief system is, and can you see yourself being that professional drifter? Can you see yourself in that spot? Can you see yourself with the fans, in this adoring fans like we all were? And he's doing amazing. So I ask you, let me just scroll up. Is there anybody that would like to share with me some belief system that you know that you need to give up? And Sarah mentioned money. Is there any way that we can turn that thought system around, Sarah? Or what about Wendy? Is there any way you can flip the thought that relationships don't work? So I'm going to give you just a minute to think about those things. Just a few minutes, and I just want to see how you can flip your thought about how your life can be and how you want it to be. What's the disconnect between how you want it to be and how it is now? Just 1 minute. I would normally play music, and my phone's over there. Anyway, so I'm going to just wait and see what you guys have to say. I'm getting better, getting there a lot better than before. That's good. That's great, Sarah. For me, and I know I've mentioned this before, but I always carry tons of index cards. And in my spare time, I tend to do a few things at once. So I can't just watch television and just sit there. I'm going to be writing, reading. I know, how can you read and watch television? I don't know, but I do it. Or, playing with the animals or something. And so what I do now is I just write what I want on my index cards. And I would love for you guys to try it. And vision boards are another thing. We talked about visualizations, but if you want to just put some things down that you want to have in your life and see how they manifest, even if you don't know what the heck you're doing, it will happen. I can tell you about 3 or 4 years ago, I was living in a neighborhood. My boyfriend had just broken up with me, and I'd moved close to him. It's really silly. And he broke up with me, and I was feeling really isolated, and I felt so bored. You ever looked on Facebook and thought, wow, what amazing lives people have, and then look at me? Well, that's how I felt. So I started deciding that I wanted to travel. And I thought I just need to do something exciting with my life. It's just so boring. So I started tearing out magazine clippings of these different cool places in Europe. And that was probably in October of that year. Well, around January, about 3 months later, my friend called me. I haven't talked to him in 6 years. He calls, and cue my British accent, goes, oh, hello, Lee. It's so lovely to talk to you. I'm really hoping you'll come over for Laura's wedding. It's like, what? 6 years it had been. So it's 2010 then. So I said, sure. And I went to the wedding. And while I was there, James asked me to go on a car rally. Said, you fancy going to a car rally for my birthday? 5 countries in 5 days. When I got back, it was a while before I even looked at that poster. It was on the poster board in my office, and it had all of these little countries on it, all in Europe. And one day I looked up and I realized what had happened, totally out of the blue. So I made some lists of some things that I wanted more recently, about a year ago. It's a book called Happy Pocket Full of Money, and it says just put all the beliefs, all the things that you want to have down. So I made a list, said make 100 things. So I started making a list of things that I wanted to do just randomly, because I had a hard time thinking of 100 things right off the bat. And one of the things I put on my list was shopping in Milan. Again, I didn't even look at my list again. It wasn't like I was looking at it every day going, oh, this is going to happen. Not at all. Put my list in my little notebook. And a few months later, once again, I'm at an IP conference in January of 2014. And I'm there with my friend James. And he said, oh, I have a business trip. Would you fancy going with me to Italy? And I said, sure. So I'm standing in the middle of a shopping thoroughfare in Milan, and I look around and I'm suddenly struck. And I remember that I had written that on my list. Shopping in Milan was not even on my radar. And suddenly there I am. So I can tell stories like this all day. And if you've ever been in a conference with me if you've ever been in one of my all-day workshops, you will see I have more stories about things that I've manifested. Now, manifestation is when you just have a thought about something and then it comes to fruition. So you have the thoughts become things. So lots and lots of great things like that have happened. Is there anybody who wants to share anything like that with me? Manifestations are super fun. I like to call them mini manis if they're small things. Like, for instance, this morning I was having a bit of a allergy problem. So I was looking for Q-tips. I was looking everywhere, all over the place. And then I thought, well, I'm just going to take some allergy medicine. As soon as I opened the medicine drawer, the Q-tips drop out. And of course, it was a little mini mani. That's not where they're supposed to be. I didn't know they were there. But I know that sounds a little crazy, but in fact, when I do my workshops, I always say, I know this is going to sound crazy, but you guys know how it can happen. I was in the Bahamas recently, and I missed out on this thing to see this little boat ride to see the stingrays. They're very beautiful, and it was this day-long stingray excursion where you got to go and pet them. And I think they're a bit dangerous, but I was willing to try it. So I didn't get to go, and I was super disappointed, and I was walking on the beach thinking about how I wished I had seen them, and one just glides across my foot. And I was like, wow. And then later on that same trip, I was thinking about this guy I dated. I was out in my boat and thinking about it, and I thought that the last time I was here, I was with this guy. I hadn't talked to him in maybe 5 years. The following Tuesday, I get a message, hey, you been on any trips lately? And I said, who is this? And it was that guy. So you may think, wow, those are pretty cool things, kind of scary. But once you believe that you can create with your thoughts, guess what? You can. So I want you to start watching this week and seeing if you can do this, because I know that you can. You can start thinking about small things. And the movie The Secret, I think they talk about a free cup of coffee or something like that. Or there's a book called E Squared, and she talks about envisioning coming up with something and then giving yourself 48 hours. The thing that I read the book E Squared, and what I did was I said, I'm going to see pink Gerber daisies, and it was in the middle of winter. So on the morning of the second day, I was walking at the courthouse square, and in the window there was a doormat, emblazoned with pink Gerber daisies. So, and the other one, even forgot the other one, but so if you just think about it and believe you can do it, these are little things. But when you see that you can do these little things, then you'll see that you can do these big things. So it's not quite an hour long, but we don't have to talk an hour. We have several more weeks to go. And since we don't have interaction, I'm not going to keep you a whole hour. So this is our belief section. Next week, we're going to talk about emotions. And if anybody wants to send me an email or talk to me about anything privately, then you're welcome to. I'm so glad that everybody was here to share the call with me tonight. And if anybody doesn't have anything else, then I am going to say I will see you next week. Like I said, I had 60 viewers last week, and so I know lots of people will catch the replay. And I hope that this is making a difference to you. Certainly, as I bring this information to you and this hope and energy, it makes a huge difference to me. So thank you guys so much, and I will see you next week.